Today on the Topping Show, Representative Jasmine Crockett says you can't afford a home or groceries due to deportations. CNN goes viral for quote-unquote misgendering someone, and Bernie Sanders does look hilariously confused. Leftists continue to damage Teslas ironically owned by Democrats and many leftists themselves. Iconic Porsche restoration company Singer will actually help run the iconic Willow Springs Raceway, and Audi has to recall about 44,000 of their vehicles due to defective gauges. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower, or check the URL in the video description below. Lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have an iconic sports car company, Singer. Well, they're going to help run Willow Springs Raceway, which, I mean, at this point, we should just be happy it's not being demolished like so many other raceways have. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Brian Hurd, who's a writer over at thedrive.com. Here you can see some of those iconic, well, multi-million-dollar Porsches, which a pretty penny to say the least, but in terms of restoration and customization, a lot of people consider them the best. Granted, for that price point, they should be, but in terms of craftsmanship and engineering and quality, they're up there. Though I'm not sure how much I trust the company's judgment. They live in California, which can't imagine how much money they're wasting in taxes alone. But nevertheless, you can actually see some of the Willow Springs Raceway right there. Now they say, quote, sold. Singer, yes, that one will run a private club at renovated Willow Springs Raceway. It's official. The deal for a private equity firm to purchase a historic track has been finalized, and Singer Vehicle Design is listed as a co-owner. Which, again, I'm just glad this track is going to exist. And shoot, maybe someday if my income trajectory goes up throughout my life, I'll have the privilege of going there and shoot, who knows, maybe even getting a nice Porsche like that. Now, they say, quote, Willow Springs International Raceway is now officially under new management. As of April 9th, the facility is now jointly owned by Boston-based private equity firm and niche California-based Porsche restoration shop that goes by the name of Singer Vehicle Designs. Yep, that Singer. Now, this private equity firm co-founder Sam Byrne of Cross Harbor Capital Partners says, quote, we are thrilled to begin a new chapter with such a beloved facility. We are committed to serving the community for decades to come and creating a space where all members of the car community can collectively share their enthusiasm for Willow Springs and motorsports along with Singer. We are collaborating with and recognizing with powerful names within the auto industry and are excited to partner with them in pursuit of this definitive California experience, unquote. Now here you can see a couple more shots of the track and the facilities. I got a nice little BMW, Ferrari, and Lexus on there. Not my preference, but there. Wow. I really wonder how many of the vintage, what is that, Mercedes 300 SLs, the iconic coupe from way back in the day with the door handles that went into the door, which, geez Louise, those cars are worth like over $1 million now. But it is always cool to see those vintage high net value cars actually being driven as engineers and companies want them to. Though sadly, it's all too rare these days. Now they say, quote, it should come as no surprise that Singer plans to establish a private club at Willow. This members-only club will be open to Singer's clients as well as, quote, other like-minded enthusiasts. It says, quote, anyone with pockets deep enough to spare the expense, in other words, which, yeah, again, their cars are like 1 million plus. Like, it is basically just handcrafted piece of brilliance and art all combined into one. And a lot of people say it's the most raw driving experience you can get from a vehicle, which, again, for that price point, probably should. Now they say, quote, but this isn't going to be another thermal club. The track's new management insists many of the planned improvements will also benefit club racing and track day scene, which would be great. They say, quote, the new ownership group sees public access as a key aspect to Willow Springs access, and the raceway will continue to host public and private events. Existing tracks include all 3 road courses, remain open to the public, and undergo enhancements to improve safety. A variety of track layouts, including karting, ATV courses, and driver instruction, will continue to be available to a broad range of interests, unquote, which Would be nice, and I hope so. Though again, historically, when private equity gets involved, not every single time, but a high amount of the time, they seem to suck the value out of the companies and force them in bankruptcy. In this case, because this is mostly, well, yes, it's obviously a facility, but I would argue the main value is the service and renting it out. Maybe things will get better, but I know a lot of people will get queasy when they hear private equity because half the size of defunct businesses behind me, well, spoiler alert, there's a main variable of why they met their demise, which probably the one that hits closest home and hurts in the heart was Toys R Us, but another topic for another time perhaps. Now they say, quote, Cross Harbor has already begun an in-depth evaluation of this raceway's extensive facilities and will initially focus on track and safety improvements, including adding more grass, asphalt, and curbs to enhance runoff areas with leveling and gravel, which would be kind of nice if you were to do that, Eagle Kingdom Raceway. I'm only partially kidding. I went off track, was it last year, at an area where there's a little bump right before I get back on the track. But that little bump was enough to puncture my tire in the side to the point where it could not be repaired. But thankfully, there's a Walmart nearby, and it's just Honda Civic SI. They had a tire that fit, thank God. But yeah, having gravel in those runoff areas is pretty darn important. Safety as well as, save you money. Your tires don't get busted as many times. So yeah, that'd be a good improvement. Now, I also know that, quote, future plans include maintaining Willow Springs historic while upgrading its facilities, improving food and beverage offerings, and refining the track and driving experience. I wonder if I can actually maximize that. Ooh, we can. That looks amazing. One of the few Mercedes I would love to own someday. Now, let's say, quote, Singer's contributions will extend beyond just a private club, management says. The two entities insist that they plan to hold onto Willow Springs forever as part of a long-term, multi-generational goal of preservation and improvement. They also note that, quote, Willow Springs is an important part of California's motorsport heritage for enthusiasts and everyone with the automotive obsession. Singer has 2 decades of track days, racing, and development at Willow Circuits, says Mason Fawaz, Singer's chief strategy officer. We are delighted to help make sure that it's in safe hands. It could be even more impressive part of California's car culture for next 70 years. Yeah, before California just bans gas altogether. It's the state that hates you the most, and yet you insist on living there. Is fascinating to me. Now, they say, quote, its custodianship is its responsibility. We're not taking it lightly, and our partners could not be better suited to see it through. So yeah, it sounds like pretty good news. The tracks, obviously time will tell, but it's nice to see these tracks getting saved every once in a while instead of just getting demolished and more suburbs being put in their place. But pretty interesting. And again, this is one of the pinnacle things that a lot of people aspire to have a track day at this place. Knock on wood, maybe I'll get there at some point, hopefully. But let me know your thoughts in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Report podcast, you have CNN host Mr. Cooper, quote unquote, accidentally misgendering someone on the TV, and Bernie's reaction is hilarious. Which, again, CNN, they're all about the the pronouns and all that kind of stuff, and yet, yeah, they won't fire themselves. I guarantee that. The hypocrisy is, well, that's what leftists are. Now, this comes with thanks to End Wokeness. He says, quote, CNN just misgendered a they/them on live TV. I'm literally shaking. And talk about going viral. It's got 2.9 million views and 51,000 likes. And without too much further ado, you got Anderson Cooper sitting down with Bernie Sanders, perpetual, useless leech on the government. I can't imagine wasting her whole life just stealing from taxpayers. Funny, he used to rally against the millionaires, then he became one. Ever notice his vernacular changed? So now he talks about the billionaires exclusively? Interesting. Also interesting to see, employees of the top pharma agencies, they are producers. Yeah, they all donate to Bernie heavily. Fascinating coincidence, I'm sure. Now, without too much further ado,
we're back with Senator Bernie Sanders. I want to introduce Grace Thomas. She's a local civil rights attorney. She's a Democrat. Grace?
They, them pronouns, actually. Thank you.
Oh.
And there you can see clearly, yeah, a woman.
Good evening, Senator Sanders. Polling and turnout data indicate
Look at his face. He's like, the hell are you talking about?
That men of all racial demographics are turning away from the Democratic Party.
Yeah, because you're the party that alienated masculinity. You literally critique masculinity as a big part of your platform. Of course, no man is ever supporting you again. And Bernie's, he looks half perplexed there. It's just hilarious. Now, one of the first comments comes from Gumby saying, quote, the left is a real transphobe, so you're so retarded. A quote, getting 744 likes. As youth might say, and wokeness ratio, this individual saying, quote, LMFAO. You think I'm really outraged about this? Google sarcasm, getting 5.2 thousand likes, which, that's sarcasm, folks. Confused electrician says, quote, or sorry, base electrician says, confused women, they, them pronouns actually, thank you. And Bernie looking like, the hell you saying? Getting 2.8 thousand likes. Barefoot Pregnant says, if they can't respect identities, they lose all credibility, getting 8 likes. Garth Eagleman simply laughed, getting 185 likes. Paul Zupa, back in the comment section, says, quote, CNN now needs to be sued by the ACLU. Ooh. When will there be a nationwide protest over this outrageous misgendering? Getting 144 likes. But of course, it's rules for thee, but not for ye. Or after the other way around. The old English throws me off sometimes. But yeah, they're not going to boycott themselves. Tanner Wade says that Bernie be like, did she say them, they? He got 4.2 thousand likes. He's never looked more confused in his lifetime, which is saying something because he's been alive for like a gazillion years. Yeah, I Love American News saying CNN's a joke. And it's a quote from Elon Musk saying, quote, pronouns in bio means the woke mind virus ate your brain. Getting 262 likes. Kasian as you do, I think I'm pronouncing that right, perhaps, says, quote, this pronoun stuff consumes an awful lot of energy. One life to live. Do you have to use it to tracking someone's personal pronouns? Getting 2.2 thousand likes. Pregnant Redhead Head says, quote, CNN just committed a hate crime by leftist standards. Where's the outraged mob now? Guess the pronoun police took the night off. Gained 465 likes. You also have Manaj Menjaya say, quote, misgendering on live TV isn't just a mistake. It's a failure to respect someone's identity. Gained 43 likes, which again is what the leftists always say. Yet, where I can guarantee you they're not going to protest CNN. And thus far, Matt Von Swol says, quote, Anderson Cooper clearly must be canceled and fired from CNN. We have no choice in the matter. Our hands are being forced. Getting 335 likes. Yep. Doge, not the real one though, says, quote, then she proceeds to say polling and demographic data indicates that men of all racial backgrounds are turning away from the Democratic Party. Getting 275 likes. Yeah, well, exactly. Why would name one thing they do for men? Nothing at all. Talk says Bernie about to become Republican after hearing that. 273 likes. Yep, not too much. David Sullivan. I've not seen him in the comment section for a while. David Sullivan, I'll say his pronouns. Prosecute Fauci says, quote, it's a tragic loss of sanity. It's Lil May saying leftism is a mental disorder. Gained 13 likes. You also have someone by the name of Fair Lily of Virginia saying start building a fireproof ark, y'all. And it's a big wooden ark. And for some reason they have the Home Depot sign, which might be accurate because most of that ark is bent wood and warped wood. Calling out Home Depot, increase those 2x4's quality. I'm only partially kidding. That got 8 likes. But yeah, if I were to gamble, what are the odds that CNN actually gets protested by the left? I would say it's not 0. However, it is probably 0.0000278% approximately. So, of course, they won't boycott themselves, but it is hilarious to see Bernie's reaction. And of course, a lot of people really don't think they actually believe it, but let me know your thoughts and comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have leftists continue to damage Teslas, ironically, their very own, and even some of the Democrats are getting upset about it. Now, this comes with thanks to Democrat Media TM, in which he says, quote, congratulations, Democrats, you keyed one of your own. And it's about 29 seconds, but perfectly encapsulates the sanity of the leftist.
Check it out, guys. Somebody keyed the crap out of my Tesla, a car I bought 6 years ago in the state of California, because I'm concerned about climate change. Oh, but some amazing resistance fighter keyed the crap out of it, and that's going to do it. Voting didn't work, but, you know, this defiling the car of a fellow liberal, we did it, guys. We got him. Today's our Liberation Day. Go celebrate. Just go celebrate. Woo!
Can't but think someone's about to become conservative, maybe. Again, when there's a Bud Light boycott, you know what conservatives did? Just didn't buy a crappy beer. When liberals do boycotts, cities burn, property is damaged. Ironically, they claim they're the party of tolerance, love, and peace, and all that stuff, when obviously they are the antithesis of that. The ultimate example of the pot calling the kettle black. Now, this went pretty viral. Got 1.1 million views and 44,000 likes, which, again, it shows how mentally vacuous the leftists are. Because, again, the average person who's buying a Tesla, on average, they're going to be more left-leaning. They probably thought this will help the environment. But, yeah, they're still going to attack themselves. That shows how mentally vacuous they truly are. Now, going to the comment section, one of the first ones is Retard Finder saying Retard Civil War, getting 5.5 thousand likes, and is probably one of the fastest growing profiles on X. Literally hashtag or @ symbol thingamajig, I find retards. You also have Lipcat Media Tim saying, quote, libs on lib violence is a serious problem, getting 1.8 thousand likes. Paul Zupa says this is embarrassing for Democrats, getting 514 likes. Bilbo Baggins parody account, I was going to say, do you escape Helm's Deep and funny third thing from Lord of the Rings parody to make that comment? Clearly not. And his famous ice skating, is it Tiny Harding? Where you have the person who attacks the other gal on the ice rink called liberals, and it's the gal minding their own business being liberals who own Teslas. Getting 597 likes, which, yeah. Alpha Fox says they eat their own and gain 1,000 likes. Troy Rudnick says, quote, it must be exhausting. And there's a leftist saying, down with the system. It's exploitative and unsustainable. Then it shows the stock market crashing, and he goes, no, not the system. Getting 312 likes, which also hilarious. We have the, what movie is this? It's a famous scene where two men are laughing hysterically. Christie says, so dumb, and the meme is, watch Democrats key each other cars. Getting 153 likes, which, yep. MAGA Viking has a picture, what is that? Was the integrator, well, he's a very famous lead actor, or supporting actor. I forget his names, I'm not good with Hollywood and the names and stuff. But it's him being the Nazi, and he's got the leftist, piercings and multicolored hair. And it says, quote, you're hiding, well, I guess I'll try the German accent. Might not be good, but I'll attempt. You're hiding the Tesla in your garage, aren't you? Which, that might be the worst German accent of the year. But nevertheless, the attempt was made. They got 172 likes. You also have this profile name, try to keep it moderately family friendly, is called Lick Ma Private Parts. And some meme says the activists are now attacking electric cars, getting 42 likes. Yeah. So we'll see if the insanity ever stops. You have a couple examples of leftists continue to keying Tesla cars, which again shows how stupid they are as well, because there's cameras. There's not as many cameras on a Tesla as a bank, but there's a damn lot of cameras on a Tesla. You're going to get caught. But we'll see if they ever learn. This got no likes? All right, I'll be the one person who likes it. I can't believe it has Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons, and he's keying a Nazi logo on the Tesla Cybertruck, and it says, I'm helping, which, yeah, that might have been one of the worst Ralph Wiggum impressions. But again, the attempt was made. So let me know if you think they'll ever actually stop damaging their vehicles. Let me know your thoughts, because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Representative Jasmine Crockett claiming you can't afford a home or groceries due to deportations, which, yeah, she's one of the, up-and-coming stars of the Democrat Party. I hope she gets more and more popular, because the things she say are usually so mentally vacuous that I can't but think the average American will just listen to her and go, oh, dear God, yeah, we will not elect that on a presidential level or any higher level than she has now. It is embarrassing she has any political power, especially in Texas, but I partially digress. This is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness. He says, quote, Representative Jasmine Crockett, connect the dots, you can't afford your home, groceries, thanks to deportations, which, yeah, I don't think she knows basic economics or supply and demand. She's also the person who went to her boss during the hiring process and said, you should hire me because I'm black. I also don't have any experience. She said that in her interview. And technically it worked because she got the job as a public official. Now, this also went viral. I got 1 million views, and there's a Jasmine Crockett right there. Let's, you know what? Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she gives us some very articulate reasons and logic in here. Obviously not, but we'll see what she has to say here.
Realm. So I am telling you that this is a failed thing, but we've got to do better to connect the dots and let people know the reason you can't afford a home is because of these failed immigration policies. The reason you're not going to be able to afford your food is because of these failed immigration policies. And the same can go for the hospitality industries, where we have so many of those in the hospitality industry that are saying they do not have the workers that they need right now.
Yeah, you can have a home or groceries. What's one of the biggest variables in terms of why housing costs a lot, apartments and, standalone houses? There's a very mysterious thing. I don't think most leftists know this, but there's a very fascinating phenomenon called supply and demand. When there's only a little bit of supply, but a lot of demand, the prices go up. We have 20 million plus illegals in the country. That's a lot of demand for housing, from apartments to, standalone houses to condos, etc. Of course, the prices are going to skyrocket. Quite the antithesis of what she's saying. If you dramatically decreased the demand, if you had 20 million less people in the United States tomorrow, I mean, there'd be a lot less demand for all these facilities. The price would go down because you're decreasing demand while maintaining the same, if not increasing supply, as we make more houses and more apartments. I know that's a very complex topic for most leftists, but it seems beyond her. And of course, she assumes, oh yeah, these illegals are mostly doing hospitality and pickering, all the crops. Yeah. Someday she'll learn about a fascinating phenomenon called John Deere. Yes, there is some manual labor in agriculture, but it's getting more and more mechanized to the point where a farmer can sit in the vehicle and be on an iPad just watching movies. The machines are getting fascinatingly advanced, not just for plotting, but also harvesting of crops. Now, this is pretty viral, and again, she's one of the favorites of the Democrat Party. They keep elevating her. She's getting more and more media attention. I do think she's going to have an increased trajectory in her political career for Democrats, because again, she's saying all Democrat talking points, and they love her. I think eventually, on a national level, where you have, she's on more of a spotlight, I think nationally, I don't think she'll be successful, but that's just my 3 cents. It used to be 2 cents, but 40-year hyperinflation. Let's get to the comments. Again, got 1 million views and 11,000 likes. One of the first comments comes from the Waco kid, and it has a picture of a gentleman who's mentally handicapped, I believe, and says, "Look, MFer, even I know that's retarded." Getting 202 likes. X Van Fleet, who's a famous online social media activist. Oh, he's famous on social media and also famous for escaping communist in China, saying, quote, Representative Jasmine Crockett wants to bring back slavery, getting 501 likes. Democrat Media DM says, quote, "Good grief, just lost brain cells." There's a picture of a star, says, "You did it," getting 134 likes. Paul Suzupa says, quote, "We cannot afford Jasmine Crockett low IQ," getting 288 likes, which, again, if you're in a district, primary her or vote for the opposition. Junia Broderick says, quote, "Maxie Waters and Maze Hiriano are breathing in a sigh of relief. They just dropped 2 and 3 of the batshit crazy gang." Yeah, getting 2.7 thousand likes, and that'd be a good question in the comments. Who's more mentally vacuous, Jasmine Crockett or Maxine Waters? Ooh, that's a tough one. You also have Matt Van Sol saying, quote, "This is one of the most insane things I've heard in a while. She's saying that out loud, and that only illegal immigrants are doing hard labor in the United States," getting 4.2 thousand likes. Good point. I'll actually highlight that. Or as we say, like it. David Sullivan, again, pronounced prosecute Fauci, says, quote, "She made it." And there's a picture and it says, "Mount Moron." You have Kamala Harris. You have, AOC, Jasmine Crockett. And who's a Democrat who married her brother and came from Somalia? I forget her name. But yeah, made it to Mount Moron, getting 883 likes. Yeah. You also have Kelly saying, quote, "Because Jasmine get any dumber," getting 465 likes. You also have Mama Hode saying, quote, there's a picture of Abe Lincoln, says, quote, "I haven't seen Democrats this mad since we took away their slaves," getting 713 likes. American 357, a pretty exceptional cartridge. Though I would say the true American cartridge is going to be the 45 ACP. That's God's cartridge. I mean, it's part of the 1911, the most iconic handgun, I would say, since the dawn of time. Second, perhaps, only to Samuel L. Colt's revolver. But I partially digress. I still appreciate the 357. He says, "Dumb and Dumber" is a picture of Jasmine Crockett as well as AOC. And AOC, Jasmine Crockett has a t-shirt that says, "I'm stupid." And AOC has a t-shirt that says, "I'm with ghetto trash," getting 384 likes. It is also fascinating to see how Jasmine Crockett's voice tone and her accent has changed throughout the years. Scrolling down more and more. The conservative alternative says, quote, "Democrats haven't changed." It's a picture of a Democrat from the 1850s saying, quote, "But without slaves, whose will pick the crops?" There's a picture of a Democrat in 2020 with a Marxist or communist hammer and sickle on his hat. It says, quote, "But without illegal immigrants, who will pick the crops?" Getting 376 likes. You have Stacey Patriot saying, quote, "STFU skank." This picture of a Mexican saying, quote, "Mexican word of the day is bishop," like a chess piece. And this picture of Jasmine Crockett says, "Can someone please shut this bishop?" Aha, word pun. I appreciate that. Getting 442 likes. Let's see, scrolling down more and more. A couple of people just have animated pictures of her looking ridiculous. Or I should clarify, more ridiculous than she already looks, which is saying something because that's coming from me. And I know I'm no brilliant thing to look at necessarily. A lot of people referencing Democrats haven't been this upset since we freed the slaves. That's like half the comments here. let's see here. You have Allie saying, quote, "She is really the dumbest member of Congress. Just let her speak. Gained 571 likes." She's up there. That's for sure. But again, what she's saying connects with Democrat voters. So I understand. Well, I don't agree with anything, pretty much anything Jasmine Crockett says. I understand why she's saying that. And I think, as perverse as ridiculous as it sounds, I think this will actually help her Democrat career. They'll hear what she's saying. They'll agree. They'll give her more money for campaigning. They'll fund her. I mean, I think we're just starting to see her political career take off. But let me know your thoughts and comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Audi recalling about 44,000 of their vehicles over defective gauges. Whoops. Now, this comes with thanks to Motor1.com. Specifically, Chris Smith is one of their top writers over there. He says, quote, "Screens are bad. Audi recalls 44,000 cars over defective gauge clusters. Most of Audi's sedans and SUVs from 2021, including the A6 and Q7, are affected by the recall." Which, that's pretty cool hot hatch. Granted, I wish they made more stick shifts, you know me, but that does look like a pretty cool vehicle. Needs 3 pedals, though, obviously. Now, he says, quote, "Technology is great until it isn't." Which, yeah, let's just say one of the worst things about modern cars is the technology, because in terms of long-term car ownership and reliability, that's the Achilles heel. Good luck trying to find a new battery for your hybrid that's 20 years old. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. You're screwed. That's why you buy a nice Honda Civic SI with a gas engine that'll last pretty much forever. I'm only partially exaggerating, but actually not too much. Now, he says, quote, "A total of 44,387 Audi owners are learning that the hard way right now, as they look down and find their digital driver display no longer working." Whoops. The recall affects several models, and it could spontaneously blink out while the parked car or being moved. Obviously, losing vital information such as speed is a safety issue, hence the recall. Well, driving in Texas, not so much. Well, I'm only partially kidding for the highway driving. Now, he says, quote, "At this time, the recall applies only to 2 vehicles from the 2021 model year per the documents of the NHTSA. But the following are, oh, that's a lot. The A6, S6 sedan, A6 all-road, A7, A8. There's such a bore. Cadillac does this too, but I think most famously BMW and Audi. So boring when you name vehicles after, seeming to the average American, average person, random numbers. I mean, the only Audi I know is going to be the Audi TT. Yeah, stick shift is awesome. 5 cylinders of glory. And the Audi R8, obviously, because that has a really cool rear engine, stick shift vehicle. 10 cylinders of glory. Ugh, and some of the V8. Which, again, great for Corvette America, but, you know, German. You might argue a little Italian because of the Lamborghini parent company, but nevertheless. It also includes the S8, RS7, the S8, Q7, SQ7, Q8, SQ8, RSQ8, and RS6 Avant. The problem is technically a software issue, but is connected to a potential hardware problem. In all of these vehicles, the computer monitors the power flow through a particular cable going to and from the digital display. If there's even a minor fluctuation in that power reading, the display is disabled to protect against power surges. Whoops. Apparently, said cable can become slightly damaged over time, not enough to cause any initial problems, but can increase the contact resistance enough to trigger an internal fault. When that happens, you're left with a blank driver display. Which, yeah, these days, when that's all the vital information right in front of you, kind of an issue. Audi, here you can see the inside of the Audi right there, which, ugh, that interior is trash. There's something just extra disappointing about the automatic transmission and the gear selector. So it's like a soulless machine. But I know I'm part of the 2% who want to buy, who buys stick shifts these days in the US, higher in Europe. They say, quote, "Audi first learned of this problem in April 2024. After several months of investigation, the issue with the cable was then found. Interestingly, Audi's supplier switched to a quote-unquote optimized cable for 2020 for the 2022 model year, hence why the recall only focuses on 2021. Huh. Pretty nice if you're that subcontractor to maybe give them a heads up, or maybe it's just a coincidence that they switched what they're making. Now they say, quote, "It's definitely a problem. Audi noted 2,285 customers complaining related about the driver's display blanking out. Fortunately, the automaker isn't aware of any crashes, fires, or injuries resulted from the failure. So at least it's good they got out of the recall. They got ahead of the problem, so to say. A little silver lining of the situation. I'll give them that. They say a fix is already in place, but it's not a new cable. Instead, Audi will upload a software update that allows the system to recognize the power fluctuation in the bad cable. Essentially, this allows the system to be less sensitive to increased resistance and won't shut down the display in such instances. However, it will trigger a warning notice advising the driver to have a system checked out. Great. Jeez Louise. Now, they do note that dealer notification for the recall are already underway. Specific owner notifications will begin arriving around May 30th. Or just tune into the show where we usually cover recalls, usually 30 to 60 days for the automobile community before they're sent out. You get that snail mail. And again, the brand of Audi's hurt throughout the years. I personally think they lost all prestige when they stopped making their iconic R8. To me, iconic. But yeah, they're part of the Volkswagen group, and they're not the worst. That's Volkswagen's specific brand in terms of sales and struggling. But Audi isn't the way they used to be in terms of prestige and luxury and perception. And no, certainly we'll throw reliability in there as well. And talk about one of the most annoying things in terms of a recall, where you technically gotta bring it in and fix it. But yeah, I gotta say, I'd be pretty irate if I was an Audi owner. So I gotta say, Audi, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.